There we go. Okay, it is April 16th, the day after tax day. I hope everybody got theirs in on time. And we are on chapter 14, title of which is Guarantees of Title and Location, which you would think would be kind of the point of this whole book. But it's mostly about, if it's anything, it's about dealing with title insurance companies. Anybody ever in their surveying deal with an abstract of survey rather than title insurance? The room has gone quiet.
I guess not.
Okay. Have you ever seen one?
An abstract of title?
An abstract of title.
Not that I remember or knew that that was what it was.
Title command?
No, this, okay, what it is, okay, imagine a world without copy machines. Kind of hard, isn't it?
Be a lot of typos.
Could you, no, before typewriters.
No, typos.
Well,
I'm
you know,
saying, how would
basically,
you know what to trust?
there were people who made their living copying things.
Right.
And generally they were, glass ceiling and all. Before the days of typewriters, they just sat there and copied out. If you needed a copy, a certified copy of your title, if yours got burnt up in a fire, for instance, and you went down to the courthouse and you paid what would then be an exorbitant sum like $10 for a copy of your title to your house. This is if the courthouse hadn't burnt between when you got your title and that point. Abstracts of title are just very concise forms. I've got this wonderful book about, it's a guide for Texas abstract and title people. And before the days of Xerox, that's pretty much what you had. You would have every document relating to the chain of title of your property going back, the question is how many years, is going to be listed. And usually it was some poor fresh graduate from law school, and he didn't came into town to practice law, and that was the best gig he could get at that point, was making abstracts of title. So he was in the courthouse all day, going from document to document. And what it attempted to do was to list every single document related to the title of the property, going back an appropriate period.
Okay, so like when they do a chain of title for land ownership, that would be the same kind of thing.
How far back do they go?
Depends, yeah.
It depends. 30 years is a round number. That's basically, you're gambling. They're gambling that if nothing bad has happened in 30 years, there's not anybody with a superior title hanging around, right? And generally, if, it's not a complete chain. A complete chain of title is going to go all the way back to the sovereign. And the question is, how much does a surveyor depend on the abstract company or the title company to do his research, her research for? And that's the $64,000 question. Because the title insurance company, above all else, insures themselves. And if there's a survey error, guess who insures against the destruction of the survey company?
Surveyor.
The surveyor, if he's got enough insurance. So it's, there is you'll see, one of the questions is, there is a glaring error in this certain chapter, and it has to do with depending on abstract or title people. Your research, you can use them as a basis, but it should not take the place of the research that a surveyor does. It can't. You are basically, you're determining where the location of that particular parcel is. Surveyors also must determine, do the lines of possession agree with the deed? We went over that in the last class. Because the surveyor really is the only one who goes out there with the ability to measure, is that point, is there a line between that point and that point? A, did I find that point and that point? And B, is there anything sticking over it? Is there any possession? Like, is there a fence out of place? And if so, you shoot it in. Questions? And you'll notice that there were no principles. I've been basing most of the questions on the principles. No principles in this chapter. And it's not that it's not like the water chapter where he got someone else to write it.
Right.
It's just the lack of principles in this chapter should be a warning sign to you. It's not going to be as clear cut. Okay. Question 1, can a surveyor guarantee title and location? What is it that a surveyor can guarantee? What are you getting paid to do?
Gather evidence.
Mm-hmm. About?
Any particular deed that whoever's asking about what? I mean, the sections.
Mostly location, location, location. And is, according to the paper evidence, is this physical evidence sufficient?
It's certifying and guaranteeing
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Who is it that who can guarantee the location of something? Title insurance company, if they want to pay, if the customer wants to pay for it. A surveyor, he can produce enough evidence, he can produce documents, but is he in a position to actually guarantee the location? Not really.
Not if he wants,
Not if he wants to stay in business.
Right, that wouldn't be the smartest,
And essentially, you carry insurance against errors and omissions. And, that's every surveyor, if they're going to practice, has to have an E&O policy. Or you're going to go out of business real quick. And as we went over last time, people who are not in a privity contract with you can still sue you. So, if anything, this ought to be an adverse. They ought to run ads in this chapter for the people selling E&O insurance. Have a picture of Bill O'Hara's wife in there, like it is in the TSPS convention. I had a booth right next to hers, and she used to grade my papers, my tests, when I took the surveying course. So she remembered me. She didn't quite understand some of the answers that I gave, but I was only trying to be funny.
In your favor.
Yeah, I did. But anyway, the surveyor can basically, all you can guarantee is that you did your best. If you did your best, you can guarantee that according to record, this is the starting point. This is the commencing point, and then this is the starting point. According to the evidence, this is what we will hold. But in terms of actually guaranteeing the location of something, you people who practice out here in West Texas locating oil wells, you know better than I do how iffy some of those locations can be. Because it all depends on how you construct any particular railroad block. As to, I thought that well was on section, but no, it's 4 feet over. Oops. That's a major oops.
4 feet.
Actually,
into the nether section.
3 feet is sufficient location for the Railroad Commission.
Right.
But in terms of where the boundary is
Right.
of an oil well.
No, I see what you're saying.
There were federal cases. There were cases in one particular case in Louisiana, and you had like a team of surveyors on one side, a team of surveyors on the other side, and the one that the judge had to go with was a guy who didn't have a dog in the fight, who was a federal cadastral engineer, and he was called on to run the line, and he ran it with a solar compass, and like the most old-fashioned way you possibly could. And because he had written a book on the solar compass, and because he explained things to the judge and jury so well, his opinion prevailed. You had, it was either on one block or on one section, or it was on another, and there was maybe 3 feet. It was over the line by 3 feet, and a big oil well in Louisiana back in the 50s. You want to bet it wasn't producing a lot. So. You'll notice this chapter doesn't talk a whole lot about going into court. It talks more about dealing with the title insurance company. And, you don't, it talks about abstractors. You don't see them much anymore simply because the reason for them existing doesn't exist anymore. You don't need to have someone scribbling out, little note cards with the essence of the document. You can simply copy the document, and now instead of copying the document, you can scan it. So, title insurance companies or abstract companies used to have room after room this size full of file cabinets, full of basically just the essence of deeds. Who deeded what to whom, when, what volume, what date, what volume, consideration, etc. And anybody who was mentioned in the deed was referenced.
That was going to be my next question, like all cross-referenced, and you would be able to find anything you want.
Does anybody remember library cards? Okay. Does anybody
Like the
mourn
card
their
catalog?
passing like I do?
Yes.
I could find anything. Just give me, 30 minutes with a card file. I could find anything.
What was that called?
It was
catalog?
card catalog. Yeah,
Yeah.
Library card. Yeah, it was just little index cards, and it was everything you needed to know about what the book. Well, it wasn't everything, but it was at least
to get
author title, Library of Congress number, Dewey Decimal number, etc. And you could just go on and on. And an abstractor worked along the same lines.
Yeah, that computer set up.
It's no better than the person who programmed it. But anyway, a really good abstractor was a lot like a really good surveyor. They kept a lot in their heads, and so they would know before they, just as soon as they got the job. Oh, I'm going to need to go to such and such, such and such, and then check out the adjoinders, and that's such and such and such and such. The job doesn't exist anymore. It's been computerized, but what the job needed to do hasn't changed one bit, because you still need to, if you're surveying, you're not just surveying the lot you're surveying. You're surveying that lot and into all of the adjoinders. You can't just survey the one lot. You have to tie into other corners, PIs, PCs, etc. You have to make sure that what you're surveying is where you think it ought to be, or where you think it ought to be and where you find that it is. You have to come up with an explanation, and you have to be able to explain that to the client. But yeah, it's too bad that there are a few abstract companies, but they're basically acting as title insurance companies. And the more you read into the chapter, the more you realize how little title insurance actually does. It doesn't guarantee you location. It basically guarantees that if you get into a title squabble, if you lose, you'll be reimbursed. If you win, well, that's nice. They don't pay your expenses because there's nothing that they can do to prevent someone else from bringing suit against your title. They can just reimburse you if you lose. I didn't find that out until after I bought my title insurance policy. And had I known that that was the case, I wouldn't have, spent the extra, like $300 on the title insurance policy, because I'd already done that research, and there was nobody who was in a position to challenge the location of, the where of the what. But anyway, second question. Title formally began at the center of the earth and extended to the heavens. Well, that's been gone for quite some time. Used to be, what kind of idiot would have gone to a judge in 1890 to prevent people from flying over his property?
Nobody would have been.
Yeah, because people didn't fly. Well, they fly. They actually had to get court rulings allowing air traffic over private property. The law had to change because prior to that, that was your property. It went all the way up to the heavens. And, according to common law, you could, well, what are you going to do, shoot them down or, sue them when they land? But many times, like in a subdivision, someone has a section near town, so they decide to turn it into a subdivision. What do? They basically make it a subdivision and separate from sale the mineral rights. You see it all over the place around here. So you buy a lot. You don't have the right to prevent someone from drilling an oil well right up against your property line, do you? Do they have the right to drill on your property? Yeah. There are a lot of words you can use to describe that. Most of them are not fit for mixed company.
Just go build a house right next to their estate.
Well, you might as well.
That's the only way to keep them.
But no, it's if you separate the mineral interests so that you are only selling the surface interests, nothing to prevent that. They don't do any hard rock mining, down here. They simply remove all the excess stuff, along the surface, strip mining. But there's nothing to prevent if you were in coal mining country, nothing to prevent the coal mine, as long as they didn't damage your house, from extending a tunnel to underneath your house. It has to be deep enough not to cause problems.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So what if a year
What if your house falls in?
Yeah, there's giant.
You can sue them if you live.
If you live through it,
yeah. Yeah, generally sinkholes are acts of God. Mining disasters are acts of men. Okay, we have not discussed condominium ownership. What is it? And don't say it's kind of like an apartment. How do you distinguish ownership in a condominium? Yeah, elevation. So that literally the same physical location will identify, like if you've got a condominium building, then the same physical location, if everybody, let's just play like they all own one floor, and the elevator shaft is common, so is the staircase. They all own the same X and Y, and it's Z that separates. That's different from, if you have a partnership owning the same, it's one parcel with multiple owners. If you have condominium ownership, everybody owns the same location, different levels. has anybody, outside of this book, has anybody ever heard of Torrens titles? They were popular. They actually got a toehold in Texas in the 50s. And then someone, it was like a legislator had an idea. We're going to have Torrens titles. And then after it passed, someone said, and now we've got to spend money. Because basically it's the state running an insurance policy on title. What's the difference between title of an automobile, or title to an automobile, and title to property?
May.
Hold on, I just read it.
One registers title, the other one registers ownership.
Mm-hmm. But what's the difference?
Title is what? Ownership is who?
Well, title to property always implies the where. Title to an automobile almost never implies where. That's a very short definition.
Where's you at?
Oh, we're just barely getting started. We're talking about something that you never hear about out here. And there will probably, maybe on the SIT exam you get 2 questions. Probably just one on Torrens title. You just have to know what it is. It's basically the state running, the people who are dead set against it are title insurance companies, because it takes away title insurance from property. Because the state becomes the keeper of, well, they are already the keeper of the records, but instead of being evidence of title, you register your title just like you register the title for an automobile with the state. So there is a fund set aside for, like anybody who is, there's no adverse possession in Torrens titles, and there's a fund set aside so that if anybody is damaged by the Torrens title determination, they get to apply for relief. That went over like a lead balloon in Texas. Unfortunately, it breaks the chain of title. So there's nothing that title insurance people in like the Houston and Austin area hate worse than running into a title that hits them up against Torrens title. And now, we sort of hit on this earlier. How far back does title insurance generally research? 30 years. How far back does a surveyor, or how far back should a surveyor, theoretically, investigate? Till basically,
The beginning of it.
till we ran the Comanches off. Do you always do that? Not really. Should you be prepared to? Yes. Going back to the sovereign, most of the time, going back to the sovereign is simply, when was the railroad survey done? And has anybody bothered showing up out there since? There are places down towards Big Bend where it was surveyed in 1870 something, and then the next survey was about 1970 something. And the one in 1870 something, they didn't set anything. They said maybe block corners. And then in 1970, someone came along and they were kind enough to take the block corners and kind of fill in some of the section corners. But sometimes out here, it's a real pain finding any evidence that takes you back far enough to be useful. I was talking with them earlier. There are no principles, right? Please.
No, I haven't read it.
Okay.
I'm going to sit here laughing.
No principles in this chapter. Well, at least you have enough principles to own up to it. Read the chapter. Will be tested on 11, 12, and 13 Thursday.
Gotta read those first.
Yeah, well, that would help, yeah. and basically 14 will go into the next test. But I didn't want to, pounce the test on you. There were too many people gone last time. So anyway, I was about to make some wonderful point. I don't remember what it was. Okay. If courts do not guarantee title, just what do they do in a title dispute case? What happens when two people go to court in a title dispute case? Now, in Texas, what court do they go to? District court. Okay. Can you go to the JP or small claims court?
No.
You should be able to, but no. In fact, sometimes you would probably get better justice in a JP court. It may not be the law, but it might just be fair. What happens in a title dispute case? And I know that there are lots of different kinds, but remember how I was talking about, medieval stuff last class? It really is kind of like, combat. It's kind of like, two knights duking it out in the arena. You've hired one if you're the plaintiff or the defendant, and it is a combat between two opposing forces for title to this land. And the person with the basically with the paper title might not be the person who actually has possession of the land. And that's adverse possession. That's a case like that. But once the combat is over and the judge and the jury, bring back their verdict, is the winner then immune from any other claims? So the whole thing can start all over again. Someone with another, and this was common in the early days of the Texas Republic when you had patent after patent after patent, and not always located on the ground. So just because A and B go to court, B wins, B can still end up going to court again when someone else challenges his title, because there might be another patent surveyed, there might be another instrument of the state issued, the description of which fits his property. So what do they do in a title dispute case? They decide between the plaintiff and the defendant. And that's all. Okay, those of you who work in the office are probably going to be more familiar with the distinction. What's the distinction between a general warranty deed and a special warranty deed? Tina?
Well, I don't know. I would have to call the landman that I know and ask him.
Okay. General warranty deed is the highest. Basically, it's worth more. And even a special warranty deed, special warranty is we warrant that we have good title to it, but we haven't, we're not going to do all of the research.
You would think that those two words would be opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would expect not so good warranty deed, or brand X warranty deed. But basically, special warranty is not as high a grade. Both of them warrant, and here's that's the warrant in warranty, that the seller will indemnify the purchaser should title fail in court.
So what?
Okay, seller will basically pay the damages to the client if they lose the title case in court. Kind of like title insurance, isn't it? You're an idiot if you don't get title insurance when you buy, and the title insurance is basically done at the buyer's expense, and it protects the buyer. More importantly, it protects the title insurance company against having to pay out. Because like I said, they don't pay your expenses to defend your title in court. They pay the damages if you lose in court. So that's really the purpose of the title insurance. Will a bank loan if there's not a title insurance policy? No, almost never. Will a title insurance company issue title insurance without a survey?
Yes.
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes they will.
What was that?
What happens? No. Will a title insurance... Okay. A bank will usually not loan money unless there's a survey. Okay. Being in the survey industry, you all approve. Will a title insurance company issue a title insurance without a survey? Sometimes they will. If they are confident that there's not an issue, then it's their discretion. What happens if there's an adverse possession that is claimed against something that they just issued title insurance against, and they didn't get a survey? They're stuck. They have to pay the damages. That's why title insurance companies and surveyors get along pretty well. What's a quitclaim deed? Oh, come on.
I had to go through
Like
something.
you can claim a piece of land, but you can't get a title insurance on it?
Well, basically, what usually happens, people get, and I'm not talking about the government, people give a quitclaim because there's something that's more trouble than it's worth, or someone's offering them money on what they think they own, but they're not real sure. Sometimes when you get into complicated estates, wills, and all that, go ahead and read what it says.
A deed that conveys a grantor's complete interest or claim in certain real property, but that neither warrants nor professes that the title is valid.
Okay. Why would you get one?
Right.
You're paying someone to go away and be quiet.
Okay.
They give you a quitclaim deed, and they go away and be quiet. You've got 10 heirs, potential heirs, to someone who didn't file a will. Well, of course he didn't file his will. He was dead.
So it would be in that instance.
In that instance, you've got
grandson A. He said, "You're going to make a big stink
A,
out of
B,
this.
C, D, E, F, G, H, I,
Can
J.
you please, if I give you,
Start with J.
All
Get a
right.
quitclaim from J.
all right, if grandson J
Yeah.
is just the screw up kid,
Mhm.
they say, "Oh my gosh, please
Yeah.
go away. We'll give you $24,000
Yeah.
if you'll sign this quitclaim deed and
Yeah.
be on your way."
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then that way you work from J back
Right.
to A,
Sure.
and each
And-
one has to give you a quitclaim. Does anyone actually have clear title?
No,
At that
because
point.
there's not a clear. Well, I don't know.
Basically, if it's
It all
in,
depends.
you
That
know,
was
yeah, it's
in chapter 13.
yeah. If somebody died and there are 10 heirs, none of them got mentioned in the will, and you can come up with enough money to buy them off individually, they each know that they're probably not going to get that much from it.
Right.
So they sign a quitclaim deed, accept money, and then they're selling you whatever interests they actually have.
potentially have.
Do they actually have possession of the property?
No, because they weren't deeded it by
Right.
will. Okay.
Do they have clear title to it?
Or as an heir?
Would
do
they? No.
Okay.
What they would have would be a potential share after it goes into. Well, it's intestate. It goes into probate. Goes into court, and then after the judge and the I would say executor, but I usually say executioner get through. sometimes there's just not that much left.
Right.
So if you can round up all the heirs and get each one of them to sign a quitclaim deed, then you can go in and, by presenting all of this, get a deed from the court, should the court be so inclined.
So who
Would
have...
that prevent an heir not mentioned or not taken into account from,
Right.
from
Say
claiming
there was-
title?
Say there was grandson K that
You
nobody
got it.
knew about?
You got
Okay.
it, yeah.
So who would have the biggest stake in that? Would grandson A try to get everybody so that he could have the whole thing, or would it be the
It all
executor?
depends. We don't have enough details at this point.
Wow.
Basically,
This is
what?
your story, man.
Yeah, I know, and I didn't fill out the deed. You know, this is not like Clue. We do
I'm
not
just
have
trying
the
to
lead.
understand.
You know, we do not have the pipe wrench in the
Right.
conservatory.
Just trying to understand,
No.
if this...
What I'm
then
getting
that.
at is that they don't have clear title,
Okay.
but they certainly have color of title. They have the possibility of inheriting that. They, the fact that there's no, no will, major problem. It may or may not go to them. There may be other heirs.
Is there different kinds of quitclaim deeds?
If there are, I don't know.
The lady brought in a quitclaim deed to 2 acres she wanted us to survey.
Well, so she got someone else to sign the quitclaim deed
Something like
in
that.
her, basically.
It's just in a big old piece of land.
Basically, sometimes that's all there is to go on. And at that point, she better be getting title insurance. Because you can locate it on the ground, but the fact that there is only a quitclaim deed means maybe someone hasn't done a whole lot of research on that.
If there's a quitclaim deed that someone has signed, like in that situation, what is there wording in that quitclaim deed to prevent whoever she got that from coming back and saying, oh, well, I changed my mind?
Well, was it ever recorded? Was a quitclaim deed ever recorded at the courthouse? That's the question. Was
So
there
if it was... would
was
it
there
be-
any evidence that it was recorded?
Not that I know
Okay.
of. I mean, it's just, well, we didn't do it.
Yeah.
It was something that was, because the guy was doing a whole bunch of owner financing,
Mhm.
and that's all one of those deals. And,
Right.
Yeah.
but see, what about the other one? Because I have a house up in Ozona,
Mhm.
and it encroaches 2 feet, and something in the paperwork calls for it, but it was never filed. And guy at San Angelo told me to do a quick claim deed for them 2 feet. What about something like that? So I'm asking, is there different kinds?
Not that I know. All a quitclaim deed is someone saying to someone else, I'm pretty sure I own this. I'm pretty sure my title is good.
What if
Here.
nobody claimed it?
What if there's another claim?
What if nobody claimed it to be theirs?
Well, remember adverse possession. You basically, if it's an orphaned piece of property, then it would be a case of possess it. And, well, first off, is anybody paying taxes on it? It was usually, if nobody's paying taxes on it, then you could acquire it by paying taxes for a statutory period of time. Fencing it in.
What about a house on top?
House on top? Well, yeah, that's a pretty good indication of ownership and use.
Okay.
Now, did someone else put the house there, or are you going to put the house
No, the
there?
house has been, it was my grandma's house.
Okay.
It's been there for ages.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's 2 feet into that other property.
okay. It's not 2 feet into your property.
No.
It's 2 feet into
See, because
someone
they own
else's.
both properties at one time. One of those do.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
nothing like that. Basically, do you know who owns that other property? Okay. Well, it's God. You missed a bunch of classes then, because we were talking about boundary line by agreement.
No, I know that,
Yeah.
but my old boss said, hey, just do a quick claim deed. Since that house has been sitting there for so many years, you could do that too.
Well, but there are other ways you can solve it. You know, like if you wanted, well, I'd hire a surveyor. I know you're studying to be one and all
Oh,
that,
I got a buddy in San Angelo, like I said.
if you can, you know, provide the field work to his satisfaction, you know, but basically, there's very little more common in a subdivision than like moving the property line around where some idiot built a house. I'm not saying
I call my grandpa.
no,
What's wrong?
because it was their property and then they divided it,
Yeah,
right?
that's the whole deal.
Yeah,
I'd
so
be
someone
calling that other
simply
surveyor and
no,
go-
someone
I mean,
said
the one who-
there was probably no
No
surveyor.
surveyor.
Yeah, no surveyor.
they
was
Yeah, that's the
involved.
same thing in the south side of Midland. You got
Yeah.
houses on top
So
of
how they
houses.
determined that the house was encroaching into the other house?
Oh,
Right.
because my mom tried to get a loan in order to fix it up.
Mhm.
So I had to go out there and survey it, and when we did all
So
that,
Then you determine,
you're the
oops.
surveyor.
yeah. Well, that's, I mean,
Yeah.
I sent the stuff to that guy in San Angelo because he's done a bunch of work out there.
Yeah, well, basically, there's nothing you can do. You can make a straight line go over there and then come back and then give, take from one part
Give
of
to
one
another.
lot and give to the other. And there's, nothing more common. I lived in a house, it was one lot in 1926, right? Actually, one lot in 1918. And then in 1926, they built a house. And, well, it wasn't exactly midway. The garage intruded. So what they ended up doing was, a little, a zig where it should zag. It should have been a straight line, but it went around the garage and then back and then down. And it was too small a lot for the city regulations later. But there's nothing more common than, making a boundary line crooked where it was originally supposed to be straight. If the two neighbors agree to it and it's filed in the courthouse, then everything is fine from then on.
Would that-
If it's filed in the courthouse.
Would that still be considered unwritten title? If it was just
Not if they make the boundary line by agreement and then file it. Does it bind future heirs and assigns? If you file it,
Okay.
yeah. Because you know where the boundary line is. You found the monuments. That's not the issue.
No.
The issue is the house is in the wrong place for where they figured the line ought to be.
Well, I guess, yeah, something like that. But
Yeah.
he read through the deeds, and somewhere there's a bust in there too, about 2 feet. So he's saying,
You just had to bring that up, didn't you?
I'm telling you, this
It's
is
like a
good
treat.
one.
You saved it for the
Yeah.
end. Oh, but I forgot.
So he said there's a bust of 2 feet in there. Do a quick claim, and
Yeah. Gee, I'm glad this is only a class. I don't have to actually solve this right now, since I'm not looking at any deeds.
I'll give you a better one. My grandma lost them houses, and when she passed away, they came back to her or to my dad.
How?
Nobody knows.
Okay.
2 houses, yeah.
Were they haunted?
How? It's one of the weirdest things is I don't know. Nobody knows. The bank and ranking don't know.
Okay.
But
That's
There are a lot of mysteries in property. A lot of, you have this wonderful phrase called chain of title. Sometimes it's kind of like a tissue, with big, it's like someone sneezed through it. Holes in the chain of title. Okay, we talked about both general and special warranty deeds. The seller agrees to basically, if there is a loss to the buyer because of defect in the title, then the seller will reimburse, will indemnify the buyer. That's only if he loses. So first he has to go to the expense of defending the title. So basically, and that's what title insurance does. It defends you, or it protects you against loss if you lose a title suit. So if there's, like the next door neighbor has fenced into your property, and then the neighbor claims adverse possession, it will not recompense, repay, make whole, etc.
I said reimburse.
Reimburse, yeah. So
Looking
you
for
you
another
you know what
word.
I'm getting at. I've had a problem with the English language all day.
It's
Like,
in
I don't
the
think
air,
I was
guess.
born here. I don't know.
I've had it too.
But anyway, that's only if you lose. So as many times as you get challenged in court, until you lose, the title insurance company or the warranty deed don't protect you.
Don't.
They don't. No. So anyway. Okay, we went over 14.5. What happens if you buy a parcel with a general warranty deed and your title is challenged? Who pays for the defense of your title? A, if you win the suit,
You do.
you pay. B, if you lose the suit, you pay. You're paying for the defense. The warranty deed will, that requires that the buyer reimburse you for your loss. What happens if the original owner is unable to reimburse for the loss of land in the title suit?
That's what title
Tough.
insurance. Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why you have title insurance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what happens? Nothing.
If you don't get title insurance, how do you get blood out of a turnip?
You don't.
You don't. So that's why as much as I hate spending money I don't have to or don't want to, title insurance is a must. Generally, a bank won't loan money unless there's a title insurance policy. And fortunately, most title insurance companies will not issue a title insurance policy unless there is a survey. Because they want to make sure that that your house is sitting on the lot that you own, not somewhere else. Okay. 14.6, Texas patented. Well, you know what a patent survey is. Anybody who's been in Texas long enough to have seen one of those. What did the U.S. government do to transfer ownership of land from the sovereign?
What do you mean, like the survey and the payment for the land, or what?
Basically, how did it transfer land to private ownership? The biggest part of it was the Homestead Act,
Okay.
as far as getting land into private ownership. One of the biggest land giveaways in the history of the human race. But and the federal government actually did warrant title on that land, so that if they, if the Comanches or the Apaches came and said, "I'm sorry, this is ours," they generally sent the cavalry out. If your next door neighbor on the southwest quarter of the section thought, claimed that he actually owned the southeast quarter where you were,
Right.
the government basically, it was more than a quitclaim deed. If someone squatted on your land, then the government would evict. In terms of a patent survey in Texas, we're going to be studying that next semester. And by the way, registration is open. Register. Don't keep me waiting until the last possible moment. So
When is that class going to be?
When?
Like during
Tuesday, Thursday?
Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday, Thursday.
Okay, what classes are going to be next semester?
Which classes?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to have Legal 2, Texas Law, and
So
then
that's
then
thing.
on the same night, survey drafting. So if you haven't taken it already, take first semester drafting at Midland College or something. If you have a job drafting, I'll talk to there's going to be another instructor. If we can get 10 students about testing out.
Okay, do I have to give permission? Or can I just take the survey drafting class?
Have you taken drafting?
I don't have the import one.
No. Have you taken a drafting course?
Civil 3D 2013.
In that case, yes. You don't even need my
Does
permission.
it matter when it was? Because I have one from probably 10
AutoCAD
years
3?
ago. That's funny. You just said I was old. I'm surprised.
Hey, some of us remember AutoCAD 3.
I know, I started on 9,
Yeah.
but it just...
Ow.
Hold on. What is that?
I started on 11. No, 12.
Okay.
But that wasn't until I went to the school. I didn't have it in high school.
Yeah.
That's where it was. It was at Midland High.
I went to
It was before pull-down menus. I had to type everything in.
Everything was command
It was
line.
awesome. I
The way
loved
it should be.
Absolutely. Man, making that jump over to Windows, I was like, oh,
When was that? 13?
no! I was 12.
Was it
Well,
12?
12 had pulled
What's
down,
it
but
up to
13
now already?
was, they changed it after a
It's-
while.
it's
They
just-
started, like in 06,
Yeah.
they went from 14, and then they started calling it
By the
06.
year?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think 2002 is like same as 12.
Yeah, it's
Oh, did they kind of,
Yeah,
Add
there's
a
an
year
AutoCAD
retro.
2002.
yeah. On my computer sitting back there is a version of 2006.
well, I was much faster when I typed stuff.
Yeah. But anyway, it'll be the same night as the Texas legal course.
Tuesday and Thursday.
I think it's either Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday.
If you get to have any, sway in that, man, Tuesday, Thursday would be so great.
Yeah, that's what I say too. Monday and Wednesday.
Yeah,
Monday's
that's-
hard.
Monday's always a weird day.
It is, and Wednesday's the only day where nothing else happens.
Okay.
I'm just saying, there's always something. There's something every single night, except for Wednesdays. You get to breathe on Wednesdays, kind of like holidays in the middle of the week.
I don't have
It makes
those.
you not pull your hair out. You should make them.
No. But anyway, Monday, Wednesday, if I remember correctly,
Okay.
is engineering survey. So,
The
What is
engineering
that?
one?
yeah,
What is that?
subdivisions. And let's see, that was,
Isn't it the construction one?
yeah, that's the one you're all ready to take. Yeah, you've got an old edition of the book and you're
Yeah.
just chomping at the bit. And basically it is everything you ever wanted to know about roads, pipelines, and subdivisions.
So how
So
long is that class?
it's going to be class and lab. So it's going to be one of those. Well, what you don't remember was that the drafting class was twice as long as it should have been. Because this is before I got here, someone had it listed as it was supposed to be a 3-hour course. Remember, like Gilligan's Island? A 3-hour course. Well, it like Gilligan's Island, it turned into a 3-hour, 90-minute or hour and 40-minute course. And then a 2-hour lab after that, which it wasn't supposed to be. So it's going to be the 2-hour lab, hour and 50-minute, but not the 2 sessions per night. That was just too long.
So which way should I go? Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday and Thursday? What do you think?
Every day.
I can't do both.
Yeah, I know.
That's overloading.
Probably
Which one's the
you're
shortest?
doing well
Mm,
in the
nice.
legal. Take advantage of taking Texas law.
Okay.
And then take the drafting too. and what it might turn out to be is that the Texas law will be Tuesday and the drafting will be Thursday.
That's 3 hours of drafting.
Makes as much sense as anything else, like the GIS.
Oh, it takes about breaking between
Yeah.
those.
But
That computer makes my head hurt after a while.
actually, it does. You know, if you sit at it and stare at it long enough. If they made one that didn't flicker, you know, if it didn't cycle. Okay. 14th. Boy, we've got a ways to go. How can a chain of title be broken?
If something's unrecorded, would that be
What sort of thing? Unrecorded.
an unwritten agreement that between landowners?
Okay. What's another way?
I don't know. It's the only one I thought.
There's bunches of ways.
Well, I know, that's
Come on,
just
get-
saying
get
that's the only
thinking.
one.
Adverse possession.
Yeah, that's unwritten. That's a break in the chain of title. Okay, you die. You don't have a will. Oops.
Yep.
That's a break in the chain. No, state doesn't take it. State acts as a conservator and tries to find the error. Yeah, they take it. Yeah.
Till they realize what's underneath and the.
Yeah.
Then it's God.
Basically, anytime you have if there is, you know, someone ceases to own the property because they're dead, if it's husband and wife, that's not that much of a problem. It goes directly to the wife.
Or
Providing, of course, you do some sort of probating, you know, there has to be some sort of civil action. The property can legally go to her, but, you know,
Is that, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Is that only if she's not named specifically on the deed? Like a lot of times you see where it says
Joint-
Paul Wilson and
joint
wife.
tenancy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they'll name her specifically.
and
So if he passed away, then
It
it
goes
would
directly
be,
to her. yeah.
Okay, and she wouldn't have to do the whole transfer of title, or is that only if
Well,
she's not